the one thing that Keefe D didn't understand is there's no statute of limitations on murder or the conspiracies surrounding a murder. And the number one thing he didn't understand, keep your mouth shut. Your ego is not your amigo. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Blackjack. Life is like those cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also, do me a favor, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to the channel. And like I always say, if you would like to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, the chickens have come home to roost. Yeah. I'm sure by now everybody around the world has heard the news in regards to Keefe Davis, better known as Keefe D, right? And I think this is crazy, because here's a guy, Keefe D, who actually had got away with crimes, right, based on the fact that he cooperated with the government, right? And in the justification of him cooperating with the government, right, his analogy is always, you know, I freed a whole bunch of other people and other people didn't go to jail, right? And so there is no justification for being a snitch. There's no justification, right? You can't continue to call yourself a gangster and you have cooperated with the government from that perspective. That is the cardinal sin. I don't care if you go from Italy to America, even in law enforcement, right? So now, the recent interviews that he had been doing, and we can go back to the ones on Vlad TV, also Art of Dialogue, and various other channels, Camp Capone, and all of these other interviews that he's been doing. The one thing that Keefe D didn't realize is that your ego is not your amigo. And what I mean by that is he signed a proffer agreement, basically confessing to everything that happened in Las Vegas and various other illegal activities that he was involved in. The proffer agreement states basically that, you know, you can't be charged criminally for what's said in the proffer agreement from that perspective, right? And for the Las Vegas police, they can actually still pick Keefe D up based on the fact that the proffer agreement was made with the federal government and not with the state. So here you have, boom, Las Vegas PD, probably in conjunction with the FBI. I don't know who was there when they went to his house and so on and so forth, coming to do a search warrant. And in the process, from what I understand, they found, I think, bullets. They confiscated computers and things like that, right? But more importantly, Keefe D had went on various platforms And he basically confessed that he was the one that basically handed the gun to Orlando and to his other young comrade, if you will, because I believe Orlando was his nephew, right? May Orlando rest in peace. And you know, and all of the gentlemen, young men that, you know, that lost their lives, you know, for whatever reason, may they rest in peace. Like I said, including Tupac Shakur. But the crazy part is, in the interview, he not only confessed to being a conspirator, right? Which if you look right here, that's conspiracy, right? This is what the Las Vegas police can charge him with. Conspiracy in the homicide, death of Tupac Shakur. They can get him for aiding and abetting, and various other crimes that they choose to add on to that. Right? But what really got me was that now, when he was asked the question on Art of Dialogue in regards to who was the real shooter, because there's a little bit of ambiguity there, if you will, in regards to who was it. Was it Orlando Anderson? Was it the other young man that was in the car, right? And Keefe D went on to say that they was just kids, man. They was just kids. Well, in that case, Keefe D, gave a firearm to kids to carry out a homicide. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Now, I'm not trying to say that, well, if Tupac jumped on Orlando Anderson was wrong for responding. No. As a matter of fact, Tupac was wrong for jumping on Orlando Anderson. That is a fact. It had nothing to do with him per se. He was showing that he was a part of the crew. You know what I mean? And for that, Tupac took full responsibility and ultimately paid with his life. Right? So I'm not here to make a judgment call on who did what, why they did it. We already know what happened. And that's what happened. But when Keefe D then tries to justify any action by anybody by saying that, you know, they were kids, and yeah, they were young men, but they weren't kids. They were grown adults, right? I'm sure everybody was over 21, you know, and but the more important part is when he said that, it's like he forgot that he handed the gun to kids. So if Tupac was wrong, right, and, you know, jumping on Orlando Anderson, then was Keefe D not wrong for handing Orlando Anderson the gun? And not only that, but snitching on Orlando Anderson after his death, because we really never knew who shot Tupac until the Murder Rap DVD came out on iTunes or Apple Movies. You got to check that out, and you can hear everything that Keefe D had to say. Keefe D said that Greg Kading actually recorded him illegally, but no, he didn't record you illegally, because everything, when you sign in a proffer agreement, you relinquish basically all of your rights in exchange for that information. So Greg Kading could have basically recorded you without your consent. Absolutely, he positively could have. You know, so, but when you think about all of this, man, all of this, it's actually sad, because Keefe D was kind of sticking his chest out for a minute there. You know what I mean? You know, he was like, you know, they were wrong, dude. They were wrong. You know, everybody was wrong. Nobody was right in that situation, man. Nobody was right. And with that being said, what we've come to understand now is that if nobody was right, like I say, rest in peace Orlando Anderson, rest in peace Tupac, and all of the other brothers who lost their life, who may not be alive right now. If they were all wrong, then was not Keefe D wrong for handing Orlando Anderson the gun? And so now you have a situation where we are presently watching the news from around the world, and not only that, but they've basically given up the location and where Keefe D live. You know what I mean? And so, the pain that you not only bring yourself, but you bring the people who you love and who Keefe D may love, right? As well as making them uncomfortable, as well as yourself uncomfortable, when all you had to do was do what real gangsters do and keep your mouth shut. But for some odd reason, Keefe D couldn't do that. He had to write a book. He had to go on, these various platforms and just continue to talk, hurl insults at other people like Boosie, and the Boosie thing was strange to me, because Boosie hasn't testified against anybody, right? Boosie got locked up for what he got locked up for, right? Stayed in jail till he got a bail, paid his bail, he's out. And so when Keefe D goes on to talk about Boosie from that perspective, I don't think he understands that the program that he is now a part of, being a government informant, when he goes on a platform and talks about Boosie possibly maybe cooperating or somehow being an informant, and which he's not and has not been proven, Keefe D does not understand that he is speaking against the very program in which he's a representative of, and that's being a government informant. You understand that? So the friction can come from all different places. The U.S. Attorney's Office, like, what is this guy doing? He's out there talking about, because that's how they get their meat and potatoes, by people cooperating with law enforcement, with the feds or whoever. You understand what I'm saying? And, Keefe D got his deal. You got your break. Now you can't go out and then speak against the very situation that saved you from going to the penitentiary involving Tupac's murder and various other crimes in which you signed a proffer agreement. You understand what I'm saying? And so he has nobody to blame but himself. Unfortunately, you can't blame Vlad. You can't blame Art of Dialogue. You can't blame, none of these other platforms that you went on, because you receive payment for your story, for your appearance, for your time. But what you did not have to do is basically incriminate yourself by admitting to your role in the murder of Tupac Shakur on a public forum, because now that opens up a new line of questioning, as well as an investigation, as well as possible charges for admitting your involvement involving state charges with the Las Vegas Police Department for being brought up on 1, 2, if not 3 charges involving the homicide of Tupac Shakur. There's no statute of limitations involving murder. And, you know, the crazy part was he talked about Billy Garland, Tupac's father, in regards to Mr. Garland understanding how the feds work. and Mr. Garland not knowing how the feds work. Once again, your ego is not your amigo. See, that was his ego talking, because what he didn't understand, that Billy Garland was a Black Panther. Billy Garland was being surveilled not only by the FBI and the COINTELPRO probe, but also the New Jersey State Police Department. Remember, that's where the officers had got the situation in which Assata Shakur got into was the New Jersey Turnpike. So you're talking about pressure. If anybody knows how the FBI works or how the federal government works or the government period, it would be Billy Garland, Tupac's father. So yeah, it just it confuses me. Like I said, when you get a win, take your win. You know, when you get a break, take your break. You know, but what Keefe D was doing was thumbing his nose at the law, and that's something that you can't do. They say you can bend the law, but don't break it. And yeah, so that's my take on it. And we'll see, you know, what happens as far as this investigation goes. I don't want to jump in front of anything that they got going on, but I just think it's painful, you know, for not only Keefe D's family, who's, you know, some of them have nothing to do with none of this. You know, you understand that he lived in the house with his wife and so on and so forth, you know, and the pain and discomfort that it might bring her. You know what I'm saying? You know, the unintended victims of, you know, your actions and your behavior, you know? So like I say, I always lead with respect. I think, you know, real men as well as real gangsters understand that. That's the one word that has been lost in a lot of things that have been going on with the social media stuff. That one word, respect. You know, and like Melvin Williams used to always say, you know, yeah, if you're having some disenchantment with your brother, he said, do me one favor, hear him out. And then after that, if you feel like you don't want to deal with whatever he got to say or from any kind of perspective, then you handle your business. But hear him out first. Because a lot of things can be avoided by just having a conversation and simply showing some respect. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.